What's up, everyone? JD Geeks here. Today, I have a package from IFB, or some people know it, Ideal Foam Blasters. I'm not going to build this on camera, but I will show you when it's all built. This is the H2 HQ G2 Max. I've wanted this blaster for a fairly long time. Normally, the seller for this is Black Raisin, but I did get a special color from Ideal Foam Blasters. All right, there's the package all opened up and all of the pieces. I'm going to put this together and I will see you in a minute. All right, JD Geeks fans, I was just going to show the blaster when it was fully assembled, but I figured I'd show all the pieces and what was included in the packaging. All right, so right here, all of the things that were included. These were all very well packaged, individually wrapped. So there is a lot of trash, but all of this is in perfect condition. We got a couple different springs, a 1.4, a 1.6, a 1.8, and then the stock spring that it comes with. We have the pistol grip, foregrip, the Picatinny bracket for the foregrip, and then the return spring in the barrel, the magazine it comes with, the handguard, the plunger, the trigger assembly, the B-car, and these stocks. So that is everything that comes in package. When I did get the HQ G2 Max. So I will see you when the blaster is fully assembled. All right, everyone, we are back. I do want to show a few things that I did not put in the blaster yet. I will be testing every single one of these springs that it came with, but I'm not sure what these darts are. I was sent about 8 darts. So we have this dart with a yellow tip and it's bambooed with 3. A yellow with a yellow tip, bambooed with 3. Yellow with green, bambooed with 3. Another yellow with a green tip, bambooed with 3. This seems, I'm not quite sure. Red with a purple tip. The best dart in the hobby currently, the Saber T darts. And then the 2 darts that I am sure of, other than the T dart, is the rumbling dart, which I have seen a lot about, but I have not actually used it all. It doesn't seem that great, in my opinion. And then finally, the bamboo blue dart, the 1.2 gram bamboo dart with the 3 rings. Those I do have I have 400 that haven't been used yet, which I will eventually use in later videos. The springs that I did not put in yet is the 1.4 gram spring, or the 1.4 spring, the 1.6, and the 1.8. I did just leave the stock spring in. All right, let's get into the blaster itself. So here is my HQ G2 Max. This color is a limited color from ideal foam blasters, not from Black Raisins like the other ways you can get this is. I absolutely love the color. It is a little bit sketchy, in my opinion. I will be putting a bright orange tip on this blaster so that uh, if I'm out using this, people know this is not a real gun. I do have a couple more things on the way for this blaster, like a different charging handle or foregrip, sorry, a different B car, and a different stock. One complaint that I do have about this blaster is the stock itself. Uh, it is not very good. Uh, it looks cool. If it's just sitting on a shelf, I will say it does look very, very cool. But due to the fact that this is a buffer tube stock anyway, I figure why not use the buffer tube and get a better stock that I like more, so I'm more apt to use this. Some cool things about it. I wasn't quite sure how I felt about the B car when I saw it, but when I first felt it, this B car seems pretty solid. I did end up getting a Flag and Armor B car for this blaster, just so I could have an orange tip, as I said earlier. And I did get a different foregrip, although now that I have this one on here, it is pretty comfortable as well. All right, next up, let's talk about the pistol grip. I was kind of worried about having a pistol grip on this blaster because I have had some issues with my Saber Apex Prime, but this pistol grip is as good as an injected molded pistol grip that is molded to the body itself. This pistol grip is very, very comfortable, very, very sturdy. It has 4 screws holding it in, and it feels really, really good. Other than that, some cool things that I believe or that I think are on here. I don't actually have any blasters except for the Unicorn that has something similar to this. It has a traditional, like AR-15 style mag release. It has a full metal magazine. I think it's a 10 rounder. And then something I haven't seen on any other versions of this blaster, mine actually came with a return spring. I have not seen that on any other editions of this blaster. So, long story short, the only real complaint that I have about this blaster is the stock itself. Again, it looks cool, not very functional. I would change that. One thing I did want to test on video, I'm fairly certain it does. I want to see if this blaster is Talon compatible. All right. And look at that. Seats right in. No issues at all. That just makes me very, very happy. Okay. Well, that about covers the actual talk about the blaster. Let's get into the chronograph and then the accuracy testing. I will see you outside. All right. Here we are outside. We have 3 Worker Gen 3s, 3 Saber T-Darts, and then 3 of the Bamboos. This is still the stock spring. I'm not going to do accuracy testing with any other spring other than whatever one I decide I'm going to keep in the blaster itself, and I will let you guys know about that in just a minute. It would just be a little bit too much, in my opinion, to do accuracy for each spring. So I'm just going to focus on the one that I decided to leave in the blaster. But again, this is the stock spring. Let's see how it does. And if you do hear any music in the background, that is just my neighbors, but they're just jamming out. We'll let them be. All right. First up, some worker darts. 226.3, much faster than I expected. 225.1, and finally 223.1. Very consistent. I actually really like this spring. All right, now let's get some Saber T-Darts. We got 206.8, 210.0, and finally 210.7. And now let's get into the bamboos. This is where the FPS should jump right up. We got 248, not too much higher. 279, that must have been a bad bamboo dart. All right, let's try again. 249, I don't know. Maybe the middle dart was the outlier. All right, I'm gonna change from the stock spring to the 1.4 spring. I will see you in just a second. Alrighty, we are back with the 1.4 spring in here. I have the exact same dart setup, 3 worker Gen 3s, 3 Saber T darts, and then 3 Dart Zone bamboos. And for those who are curious about how easy it is to take this blaster apart, unless anyone has any tips for me in the comments below, the only way that I know is you have to unscrew this top screw right back here, and then you have to push this little pin in and slide this one right out. This pin is very easy to take out. This one is a little bit more complicated. You might be able to pivot it, but I don't think you can. So I'm not going to risk it, and I'm just going to take both screws off. But all right, let's get right into the 100 or the 1.4 spring. This should be shooting right around 150 to my knowledge. So let's see. Much easier prime. We got 190. A little bit higher than I thought. 198.2. Much higher than I thought. And 193.8. So this 1.4 gram spring is actually shooting right around 200 FPS. So if I was going to use this in a 200 FPS game, I'd use the 1.4 spring personally. All right, let's get into the T darts. We got 177, 178, and finally 176. All right, finally we got the bamboos. Let's see how fast this goes. 213.6, 217.5, and finally 213.8. So if you use normal darts, it'll be right around 200 FPS, which is pretty solid, and I would definitely use this in indoor games. I'm a little upset it doesn't go to 150. I might have to get a even smaller spring if I'm going to do that. But all right, next up will be the 1.6 spring. I will see you in a second. All right, we are now back, and we have the 1.6 spring in here. To my knowledge, this should be shooting right around 250. But with my knowledge on the 1.4 spring, it might be a little off. So let's see how this blaster does. Again, same setup as before for the darts. Let's get right into it. Definitely a little tougher. 216.9, 219.0, and finally 226.6. So it's actually a little lower than the stock spring that it comes with. So let's jump right into the T darts. We got 204.6, 207.4, and finally 205.2. All right, and finally, let's get to the bamboo darts. 238.3, 243.0, and finally 241.2. All right, that is all of the darts. And finally, let's move on to the last spring, the 1.8. I will see you in a second. Okay, I'm actually sad to inform you guys that the 1.8 spring that I was sent does not fit in the plunger tube. So if I try to put it in the tube like I did with the other springs, like here is the stock spring that it comes with, where it was shooting way harder. It just slides right in. This spring does not go in. And the way that this blaster works is as you squeeze the trigger, it actually moves this entire bottom piece. Even when that bottom piece is pushed, that spring will not go in. So I think because it has the highest FPS and it's hitting closest to 250, I'm just going to stick with the stock spring, and I will figure out what I want to do with that other spring. Let me put the blaster back together, and then we'll jump right into the accuracy test. I'll see you at the target. All right, so we have the stock spring back in the blaster, and we have 18 of the Saber heavy T-darts in here, just like I've done with every other blaster, although it does shoot only about 200 FPS with these in it, 50 feet, and we're aiming at the targets. We will do 13 at the cardboard target and 5 at the smaller target. This Nerf gun does not have any sights on it right now. It's still on the way. And I do have the stock B-car on here with the stock spring. So this blaster is completely stock right now. All right, let's jump right into it. I am a little worried about my aiming for the smaller target, and there is a bit of wind right now. You might be able to hear it on the mic, but I just want to see how this blaster does, even in these conditions. All right, so here we go. 5 at these smaller targets first. Oh, high. Oh, high still. Oh, just low. Oh, high. I feel like that would have been a lot better with a sight, honestly. This thing seems to shoot pretty straight, even at 200 FPS. All right. Well, now at the cardboard target, we got a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. Hit the black. Hit. Hit the black. Hit. 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 A little low. Hit. 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 And I think this is the last dart. Hopefully I don't dry fire. And hit. All right. So once I got the sights down for this blaster, or not, I guess the lack of sights, once I got where I had to aim down on this blaster, almost every single one of those shots hit. And that's with a 9 bearing B-car and no sights. So this blaster is crazy accurate. I wasn't really aiming high at all on the shots either. I was aiming right at the target, and it was hitting great. Honestly, I really liked how this blaster performed. I'm honestly kind of shocked at how good it is, even with the stock standard configuration. But all right, let's go back inside and wrap up the talk about the HQ-G2 Max. All right, everyone, we are now back from the FPS test and the accuracy test of this blaster, the HQ-G2 Max. What to say about this blaster? It honestly is incredible. The only 2 issues I've even had with this blaster since I've taken it out of the box is I don't like the stock very much. I am going to put a different one on. And the fact that the 1.8 spring does not fit in. But this is a custom fit spring, so I can't even blame the G2 Max for that. That is just the group that I ordered the custom spring off of, which I will email them about, and hopefully they do something about it. But other than that, this blaster is incredible. The performance on it is amazing. The fact that it is full metal, Talon compatible. I love the way that the mag release is. The trigger is very, very smooth. the FPS for the size and even the prime itself is very nice. It has some bearings in there. Like, this blaster is incredible. It honestly, my favorite blaster up to now, although I really do like the Saber Apex Prime, I've always kind of liked the Harrier just a tad bit more. This just beat it out. This blaster right here, I love it so much. I can't even put it into words. There is an extended shroud and barrel if anyone thinks this is a little too small. I will be using this mainly as a CQB blaster, so it works for me. But for other people, this blaster might seem a little too short for you. You could throw on the shroud and the longer barrel, and that should fix that problem for you perfectly. Other than that, this blaster is absolutely incredible. The metal mag, the design, the look, the feel, everything about this is just insane, and I absolutely love it. Again, this is now my new favorite blaster. My fiance saw me building it, and she even said that it is one beautiful blaster, and she likes it a lot. So, talking about building, let's talk about build time. This was completely disassembled, as you saw when I first started the video. It probably took me about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, but I was watching another video in the background, so I might have gotten a little bit distracted if I'm being honest. But the packaging was great. The actual blaster is great. There was a pretty good build video online that was awesome as well. Uh, Honestly, I cannot complain one bit about this blaster. Even if it wasn't a buffer tube stock and I had to deal with this stock here, I probably would, because this blaster is absolutely incredible. Again, if you do buy this blaster, I would recommend getting a orange tip for the blaster itself. You do not want to get or to end up being confused with this being a real weapon. It is gunmetal gray, I would say. It is very gray and black, and that is not what you want on a toy. Although the plunger is clear, the rest of it is very much not. I will say, though, this is definitely a blaster to pick up if you are interested in a full metal blaster. I do want to say thank you to Ideal Foam Blasters for sending me this. It honestly is incredible, and I will be messaging them talking about how great this is. Other than that, that's about it for my review of the HQ G2 Max. And if you would like to get this blaster, they are currently sold out, but they should have a resupply soon. All right, this is JD Geeks signing off. Have a good one.